Are you trying to figure out what your business is worth? If you've watched the previous video in this series, you know that the process starts with calculating your business's discretionary earnings, determining what it really makes. If you haven't done so, do it now. Go back and do it, because everything that follows depends on this. Over the years, business owners have come to us and they tell us that they want X multiple for their business. 3 times this, 5 times that. But they have no idea what the this or the that is or should be, and they have even less basis for choosing the multiple that they claim. They heard it in their bowling league or watching their kid play softball. Valuing a business on some random number, random multiple, is like valuing a house on some random choice per square foot. Some houses are worth $200 a foot. Some houses are worth $2,000 a foot. It's no different in business. Before we identify a multiple, we'd like to identify what we apply it to. Some owners want to apply it to their revenue. So let's say, to explain how bad an idea this is, we'll use an example that you have a business of, say, $3 million in sales. That's your revenue. But unfortunately, the business is making only $100,000 a year. So if you apply a multiple of, for instance, 3 to sales, you value the business at $9 million. But it's making only $100,000 a year. Your business will never sell. Other business owners want to apply it to their bottom line on their P&L or to their taxable income. But if you use either of those two numbers, you will so wildly undervalue your business that you will essentially give it away. Neither of those numbers is likely to be even remotely close to what your business actually earns. Now remember, back in the first video in this series, we talked about what the buyer of a business always or generally asks. It's a simple question. How much money will this business put in my pocket? They ask that question for one reason, and that reason is because that is what they're buying. They're not buying the fancy cars or trucks or the equipment or the real estate. None of that is important to them. All of that does, it goes into the making of the discretionary earnings. Discretionary earnings is the answer to a buyer's question. And that is what the buyer is buying. So, discretionary earnings is what we apply a multiple to. Not the sales, not the revenue, not the bottom line on the P&L, not the tax return, discretionary earnings. Now, as a general rule, remember that the function of a business valuation is 2 things: discretionary earnings of the business and the multiple that we apply it to. So, what's the right multiple? Well, it varies, of course. It depends on industry. As an example, healthcare multiples are different than, say, tire changing multiples. Retail multiples are different than service multiples. It depends also on geography. Are you in New York City? Are you in Podunk, Idaho? It depends on market conditions. Are there a lot of buyers? It depends on financing availability. Is money cheap? Is money expensive? And there's many, many other things to determine. But it is the process itself of determining the multiple depends on 2 elements. And the first is finding comparable sales. What have similar businesses sold for as a multiple of their earnings? Yours isn't the first restaurant or HVAC contractor. Yours isn't the first small manufacturing facility or trucking company. Other similar businesses in your region have sold, dozens of them, in the last 3, 4, 5 years. What have they sold for? What have buyers paid for those earnings? And as an example, if a business had earnings of $200,000 and sold for $600,000, you can see that it sold for a multiple of 3 times its earnings. Data is out there. Find out what buyers have been paying. The second element is adjusting for your business. Once you know the range of multiples in your industry, you need to account for the unique factors of your business in particular. Things like customer concentration, management team, recurring revenue, location, or even the age of your fixtures and equipment. Let me give you an example. One of our clients owned a special events rental company. They did weddings, corporate events, things like that, festivals somewhere along the East Coast. And the multiple we found when we researched this, we found 7 similar businesses that had sold in their general area over the last 3 years. With the research, we discovered that the multiples of these sales they ranged from 2.83 to 3.31. There's our range. This is our starting point. 2.83 times discretionary earnings to 3.31 times discretionary earnings. So once we got to that, we then looked at our client's specifics as to location, as to what the market looked like, the condition of its equipment, how many contracts did they have in the pipeline, etc. And we made some adjustments, and based on those factors, we settled on a multiple of 3.19 applied to their discretionary earnings. That's our multiple. Their discretionary earnings we had previously calculated at $500,000. So we apply our multiple to that earnings number. We multiply the earnings times the multiple, 3.19, and we arrive at an estimated value of nearly $1.6 million. That's it. Now, where do we find these comparable sales? Well, we use a business called Business Valuation Resources. It's a tool built for professional business brokers, and it's a subscription service that currently costs about $730 a year. I've linked to it in the description below. But if you're valuing just your business, you may not want to buy the subscription for a year. So we'd be happy, if you wanted to save a little bit of money, we'd be happy to do that research and give you the range of multiples for the industry that you're in. And you can begin the calculations from that point. So identifying multiples buyers have been willing to pay for similar businesses helps you establish what the market is likely to value your business at. It will also give you hard data for justifying the price you're going to ask and the confidence and ability to negotiate hard from such a position. Very important. But you have to know that discretionary earnings are the key point to start. You have to know them. You have to know the range of multiples, and you have to know how to adjust them for your particular business. But remember this: while the earnings multiple, the multiple of earnings method of valuing a business is generally the most meaningful, it is not the only one that we use. In the next video, I'll be describing 2 or 3 additional methods that we use to value business and why we use them. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.